I'd worked so hard to get to the NRL, not debuting until I was 24. I always felt like I was making up for lost time as well.
Hello, listeners, and welcome to M26 Fit, the podcast that powers your spirit, mind, and body. I'm Magnus Olsen, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into stories and strategies from top athletes, health experts, and everyday warriors. We're here to inspire and challenge you to become the strongest, fittest, and healthiest version of yourself inside and out. So hit the subscribe button and let's get cracking on yet another exciting episode. Today we're sitting down with a man who defies toughness, not just on the field but in life. Ben Cross is a former NRL enforcer, state of origin representative and now high performance coach with a reputation for building character as much as talent. From the gladiator arena of elite rugby league to coaching and mentoring the next generation at the Tigers, his focus is now all about attitude, mindset, longevity, and leading with purpose. Welcome to the podcast, mate.
Thank you very much for having me. Great to be here.
Mate, take us back to the beginning and tell us what life was like growing up for you and what first got you into sport.
I was born in Wagga. That helped. So there's the Wagga effect. A lot of professional sports people come out of Wagga. Turvey Park Primary School, they're working their way through playing school cricket there, soccer for Tolland Wolves, no rugby league until probably about year 7 when we moved to Batemans Bay, and I was sort of following the cricket path for a long term. Yeah, I was destined to play cricket for Australia. That was my goal and my ambition. As you get a little bit older, when you hit around 18, 19, you can get through a game of rugby league in 90 minutes and then go have a couple of beers and spend the whole day in the field in cricket. So sort of gravitated towards rugby league. But yeah, grew up in Wagga, then moved to Batemans Bay and had a great lifestyle there in Batemans Bay. Our family owned a garden centre there for about 12 years. So I wouldn't know an ornamental from a jacaranda or whatever. You can't, nothing about plants other than knowing how to water them. That was about my role there within the family business, and then just a lot of local footy just coming up through the grades there in Batemans Bay Tigers there, and just progressed my way through to playing in Canberra and sort of took off from there. So yeah, great lifestyle, Batemans Bay on the south coast of New South Wales.
Do you have a bit of a standout childhood memory?
Yeah, a couple. It was just living in Batemans Bay, having a mate that owned an oyster farm, and we were able to go up camping up the river whenever we wanted when we were 13 and 14, jump in his boat and be able to go up. So those memories still resonate quite strongly. We're still, there's a group of us, 5 mates that are all quite tight, and we've got a WhatsApp group, and we're all quite successful. And just going up the river on those boats all the time, and jet skiing behind that, and fishing and all that sort of fun stuff you get up to.
Yeah, mate, that's awesome. I got some fond memories too, water skiing up at Somerset Dam, and there's a lot's changed though for the next generation.
Yeah, it's not like a bunch of 13-year-olds and just get on a boat and go up the river and just sort of camp out on the side of a riverbank overnight. But that's what we did, and it was a great lifestyle.
You were known as a bit of a no-nonsense tough forward during your playing days. Can you remember when those attributes when you first got renowned for that?
That probably happened because of lack of skill set. So I always told that you had to run hard and tackle hard. So if you do that, you're going to give yourself a good opportunity. But going back to Batemans Bay, when we graduated out of under-18s, we virtually all became our local A-grade side. We had so many players leave. So I'd played about 7 years of local country footy before I played in the NRL. And from a young age of being 18, 19, up against fully fledged, some ex-NRL players in Group 7, it was a school of hard knocks. So we had to toughen up pretty quickly. And I look back now, and that really shaped how I played in the NRL. Tough, hard-nosed type of play, because that's all I sort of learnt. And if we didn't hold your gloves up, well, you're going to get battered and bruised. And we got battered and bruised a lot. And we slowly got better as we got a little bit older, and we recruited a few better players. And funnily enough, we had Brad Arthur, the former Parramatta coach, was my first head coach in Batemans Bay. He came down, was the captain coach there, and Adam O'Brien, the coach of Newcastle Knights, was our halfback, and we grew up together. So we all sort of came through school of hard knocks because we were just young kids playing local A-grade footy. If we didn't stand up, we were bashed. And As I said, we got better and better and better, and we started to have success. But that grounded me in what I needed to become an NRL player as well, because I didn't go through the natural pathway of going through all the junior rep footy and the high performance stuff. I sort of missed all that. My brother went through that path. Again, there's many roads lead to the same destination. It's just how you approach it as you go along as well.
Yeah, I hear you used to have the nickname The Boss. How did that come about?
That was just a guy in Canberra when I started playing in 2003 in reserve grade and first grade. He just come out with a big sign, "Don't cross the boss," and had a picture of my head there, and it sort of just stuck a little bit. So, yeah, there was a couple of little nicknames there as well, All Day, and what was the other one? Yeah, just I think Ivan Drago was another one that I got stuck with a little bit too. But yeah, The Boss was good. It was pretty cool to get a nickname pretty early in your career.
Yeah, particularly not a bad one like The Boss. Could be a lot worse.
Very good, yeah.
And so you played English Premier League and obviously NRL and State of Origin for the Blues.
Yeah.
Do you have a career highlight that stands out?
Yeah, definitely. There's a couple, like winning a premiership in 2007 with Melbourne Storm. That's a career highlight, and I sort of look at that. That's for you and your teammates and your coaching staff. Like the difference between Origin highlight and Grand Final. Like that's something you always want to achieve as an individual, and you get that. Where the highlight of playing State of Origin, that was really giving back to everyone that helped me to get there. So I even thought about the lady in the canteen at Cooma and Bombala, where I might have got a pie after the game. The coach, my under-14s coach, my first coach there, Kevin Garrethy, all those people that have been played with or played against up until that point, they've helped me on that path, especially playing so many years of a local A-grade footy in Batemans Bay and Canberra. I was hoping that they were there with me as well. And obviously you've got to remember the name on your back as well that's there representing your family. And it is. You get so caught up in the hype of Origin that you sort of can forget that you're representing a whole state and there's people that really helped you get there. So I was really conscious of that at the time and really grateful of it as well. Yeah, so the Grand Final and the Origin as well, the two greatest highlights.
Speaking of Origin, we got the decider on tonight. It's locked at 1-1. How confident are you that the Blues will get up and Nathan Cleary will lead the boys to a win?
Yeah, not overly confident actually. I hope we get straight up our goal kicking a little bit. We don't want it to come down to goal kicking. I'd like to get at least an 8-point buffer for the whole game pretty early on. It's going to be a good game. Obviously, It's going to be tough for Queensland. They don't have a great record down in Sydney, though I have lost an Origin decider in Sydney to Queensland, unfortunately, to a team that was of great. But I think New South Wales are going to be at full strength, and if Payne Haas was a question mark, he's in and Toho's in. So I'd love to see Payne have a really strong game. I probably don't think he was at his best game too.
No.
There's not a big margin of error for his best and worst games. Not that he has a worst game, but I think he can be a real catalyst for New South Wales tonight. That if he's on and someone like Spencer Leniu comes off the bench, big shot on the arm. But then obviously Queensland are riding an emotional tidal wave at the moment with Cameron Munster losing his father. That could probably play two ways for him as well, playing on his mind. But he is a professional footy, but he's a human being as well. So that's going to be tough.
It is. Queenslanders seem to be good at pulling those emotional strings, don't they?
It is, mate. It is. Like you don't want to have to use something like that as a motivational driver, and I don't think Bill would be using that.
No.
Knowing the person he is, but again, just talking about they'll be doing the state proud, their family proud, and get around one of their great teammates that just happen to be their captain as well. That they'll be doing everything because he's hurting. They go, well, we can get through a little bit of pain in a State of Origin game when your lungs are burning, your legs are on fire. We'll get through it for him. So look out, New South Wales.
Yeah. Let's chat a little bit, if you wouldn't mind sharing a bit of a story of a personal setback or injury that you really struggled with and what got you through it.
Yeah, well, throughout my career, I had 14 surgeries, and I finished my career with a ruptured ACL, my very last game. I was coming back through, had a partial tear when I was playing at Widnes Vikings, and sort of, I'm going to retire at the end of this year. And I always said, just subconsciously, that I'm just going to play till I fall to a heap on the field, like I'm just going to run myself into the ground. And that's essentially what happened. I think it was about 3/4 of the way through the game. In my last game, came out of the defensive line to sort of box someone into the corner and just collapsed, and the knee just fully ruptured. That was a good full stop for my career. I was probably not one of those players when I retired, come back and play local park footy or something like that. But that was hard to recover from. But it was also a good thing for me that, bang, your career's over and you're done. Move on to the next part of your life. But throughout my career, the little injuries and always the setbacks just taught me resilience, that I'd worked so hard to get to the NRL, not debuting until I was 24. I always felt like I was making up for lost time as well. So I was playing with guys at Melbourne Storm and stuff that were 19, 22, 23. They'd played up nearly 100 games already, and I was still early in my career. So I was doing extra training, that's the sub. So every injury I had, it was always right, do you really want to be here? Do you really want to stay here? Is this the level of footy you want to be with? Yeah, of course it is. So you just work back and you work back. So that was probably not one major setback, but all those little setbacks all the time just built the resilience inside of me, where getting to wear that Blues jersey as well in 2008, after I think 6 years in the NRL, debuting at age 29, it's just something you'd never think's going to happen to you. You go, well, you just keep on getting through little things. You can just put little things in place and stepping stones where you can reach your goal. So I'd like to go through the career without all those injuries and without all those surgeries, but they also teach you a lot of resilience and patience along the way as well.
Yeah. I remember Nat Cook put it really well. She said that, like, every time you get knocked down and then you get back up again, and then it's one strand. And then you get knocked down again and you get back up again, that's another strand. And that's how resilience built. You don't go and buy it from the shops, and you have to go through that suffering, I guess, to be able to build that level of resilience up. And how now do you go about, so those experiences I think would set you in pretty good stead for your coaching roles at the moment, and you're being able to try and teach that to the younger players. Is there any particular way that you go about doing that?
Yeah, it's like when they talk about confidence in players and someone's lost their confidence, it comes back to competence. Competence breeds confidence. So I try to then work my players with, if you have gone through setbacks, or you're coming back through an injury, or you're going through a form slump, go back to what worked. Obviously the book, Good to Great, what got you here won't get you there, but it's going to get you back to where you are, to your floor, and then we'll try to push your ceiling a little bit. So trying to be really competent about things and helping my players get back to, so look, you played at this level previously. What did you do to play at this level, and what were you doing consistently on a weekly basis? I actually just went through this with a player the other day. He's trying to get back to playing Host Plus Cup footy. He'd been there previously. He goes, well, I probably wasn't journaling as much now as what I used to, just reflective journaling on his performances. I'm not doing as much extra conditioning as I was previously. So you were doing those two things previously. Let's go back to them. Let's see if that has an effect. How you're playing your footy as well. Are you running as hard as what you previously were? You're tackling, you're filling the space as much as that. So trying to provide the players with their own evidence of previous successes for their own confidence. And a lot of the times they'll derive their answers out of themselves. So I can't be a coach that sits there and tell them what to do all the time. It needs to come from them internally. Yeah. And generally when I can pull the answers from them, they know, well, you've come up with it. Let's go and show me how you want to do it, and that'll help you get that confidence back, and that'll build their confidence. So, and that's with anything. When they're coming back from injury, they're coming back from a form slump. They know how to get there. You just got to sort of try to ask the right questions.
Did you consider yourself a very confident player?
Yeah, I had a conflicting. It was a conflict within myself. I always knew I had the ability to make the NRL, even though I started late. It was a
So you did have that belief in yourself, so to speak.
Unwavering belief.
Yep.
But then when I got there, you also have the feeling of imposter syndrome a little bit.
Yep.
I always had the imposter syndrome because I'd never gone through that natural path, the junior rep programs, like you're meant to go.
Pathways.
The proper pathways. Yeah. So I always had the imposter syndrome about that. I didn't go through that. I just went to an open trial, got picked up, and nearly played my NRL debut after 2 reserve grade games. So it would have been my last 4 games. Would have been a local A grade grand final, 2 reserve grade games in NRL. It was just because the guy got fit that I didn't get played. So that imposter syndrome was always there, but it was also a good little thing. Like, well, keep on proving to yourself and proving to others. And then it probably wasn't really till Melbourne Storm and Craig Bellamy sat me down. And I had good coaching from Wayne Collins and Matthew Elliott at Canberra Raiders. And Craig Bellamy sat me down and goes, I've got you here for a reason, because you are a bloody good footy player. You do X, Y, Z really well. If you do that really well, you've got a position in this team. And that was a clear, precise description of what I needed to do. And then I had a look at me. I was no dummy. I had a look at, geez, I've got some bloody good players around me that can help me be successful, but I can help them be successful as well. So I can help Cameron Smith be good. I can help Billy Slater be good if I do my job really well. And if I let them do their job really well, they're going to probably make everyone else's job pretty easy as well. So that sort of appeased my imposter syndrome a little bit when someone of that calibre sort of spoke to me in that way as well.
It's very, very well said what you just mentioned, because that's one of the things I love about team sport, that you, as your role as a prop forward, well, you just need to do this. And I remember Phil Jauncey actually said it as well. And he just had the singular focus on each player. Your role is just to do this. And then you just need to do that. And when a player only has one thing running through their mind, that this is all I need to do, it's a lot easier to do that in compared to you give a player 10 things that you need to do. It's going to be fairly overwhelming for them. So on resilience, what about discipline? What's your view on discipline? How would you define discipline? Were you disciplined as a player, and how do you teach discipline to your players now?
Probably wasn't as disciplined on the field as a player as what I should have been. I lived by the sword and died by the sword, but as being a front row and an aggressive front rower, and that era that I played, you sort of had to be anyway. So, you're going to give away some penalties, but you're probably going to win your team some penalties as well. There's a few little things I would have liked to have taken back and not have done on the field where you're just in the heat of the moment. But discipline is essentially doing what's required of you when it's needed and of yourself. So if you say you're going to go for a 5K run and you stop at 4, well, the man in the mirror will know. And then when you're playing on the weekend and you feel under-conditioned, well, you haven't put the work in. And it's like you can try to bluff yourself as much as possible and think, well, I'm not getting the results I want on the football field. I'm not playing the representative teams. Well, have you really put the work in? All right, have you got your diet right? Have you got your sleep right? And discipline's not around rules. It's not around really, it's around a principle of life for yourself. So if you say you're going to do something, you've got to do it, whether you're holding yourself accountable to yourself or others. And I try to say to a lot of my players, first of all, you've got to hold yourself accountable to yourself.
Absolutely.
Before I can hold you accountable, because it doesn't matter what I tell you that you need to do for the team, what you ask of yourself is going to be more important than what I ask of you. Now, if you start to do that more consistently, well then you're going to find yourself in the team every week. You're going to find yourself progressing through the grades. You're going to find yourself getting noticed and that sort of stuff. So discipline's about essentially doing what's required when it's required consistently. And it goes in all aspects of life, whether you're with your partner or your wife as well. Being disciplined, we just see it so many times with drink driving. It's a discipline act. Just choosing not to drive once you've had a few drinks. Like, that's discipline. How much discipline you want to be in your life. Knowing full well if you want to lose 5 kilos, that you know what, I probably shouldn't be having that donut. Yeah, well, that's discipline. Donuts are always going to be there. When you can knock your 5 kilos off, you can reward yourself with a donut and all that sort of stuff. So being disciplined in that, right, and that's a bit of a stoic philosophy that I try to live my life by as well.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. And it's all, we all have choices, right?
Yeah.
And it's like you said, it's making that choice whether you want to, if you made the commitment, run 5Ks, you run 5Ks. Yeah. You don't stop at 4. So I'm big on integrity. When you made that transition, I know a lot of players that I've interviewed in the past, they can really struggle. Like, you've gone from full-time footy player, round the boys in the locker room, and then all of a sudden with you it was not a chosen retirement. Some players obviously have got it all mapped out and they're going to this and they're going to retire at the end of this year. It was obviously forced on for you with that injury. How did you cope?
Yeah, I did make the decision to retire once I had the partial tear in the ACL and rehab to try to come back. If I probably hadn't have had the partial tear, I probably would have played another year or two and re-signed. But then it was a good decision with my family over in the UK that we need to probably go back home now. And then the injury put the full stop on it, which was a good thing. So I go, okay, now I've got to move on to the next part of my life. And I always wanted to move into coaching. I was coaching while I was playing over in England and moved back to Newcastle and worked with the New South Wales Cup side there.
So you were fortunate literally to go straight from playing and then straight into coaching.
Yeah, I wasn't coaching full time though. Like, there's a lot of players that you see, you know, you're a little bit jealous at times. You see someone go straight from playing full time, straight into a full time job. Where, you know, what Craig Bellamy said a long time ago, said, go and earn your dues. Like, go and coach your own team, go and coach country footy, go and do that sort of stuff. Get experience coaching. Some of those guys that go, again, a natural pathway straight from playing into a professional coaching environment, they probably haven't earned the stripes. They haven't earned the right to sort of get there. And once they get up there, like the old post-turtle story, they get put there. They don't know what to do once they get there, and they're stuck, and someone's got to get them out of there. So I'm glad the path that I've taken for coaching, because you're learning a lot of different things you need to do to dealing with people and how to deal with coaching kids from under sixes through to senior women and senior men. And it's all very relatable, but it's also very different as well. So I struggled probably a little bit in the adaptability of going back to normal work life, juggling. I think I worked about 5 different jobs throughout the same week. So I was a personal trainer, I was working in a high school coaching, I was working as a football coach as well. So changing different shirts and what hats I had to work at different days and stuff like that. But it sort of built a bit of a multifaceted ability as well. So doing one job, dealing with people in one aspect, had a carryover effect to how in dealing with people in the coaching sector as well. So it wasn't easy, but you've got no choice sometimes. You just got to go through it. And so it comes back to that resilience and discipline stuff. What are you going to do? Just sit down and do nothing? Or are you going to, it was always one to keep pushing forward. And I know of a lot of my ex-teammates and people that did struggle and have bounced around for a few different things and still trying to find their feet. And I try to reach out to them and work with them as well. It's not easy. Like, a lot of blokes that don't. Their whole self-identity is wrapped up of, I'm Ben Cross, a rugby league player. No, you're Ben Cross, a person first. You're a person before you're a footy player, and you're going to be a person a long time after as well. So
it's still difficult though, because I went through a transition after I finished up with a particular position. In that position, you hold a degree of significance, and then all of a sudden you finish up. And I know that there was a bunch of people that I'm a relationship person. Yeah. So I've then recontacted these people just to say g'day, because I thought I was mates with them. 6 months later, and you don't get the phone call back because all of a sudden you don't have that role, that same level of significance, which, some people can struggle with. Yeah. You mentioned, like, with coaching, and like you pointed out, you've coached both men and women. What are the biggest differences that you find from a mindset perspective?
Yeah, I heard a good quote the other day, and it really resonated with me once I started to realise when men feel like they need to perform to belong, women need to feel like they belong before they perform. I went, that hit the nail on the head, because so much
great saying
within NRL, with playing state of origin, you felt like you had to perform to be belonging to your peers and be worthy of being there. And then coaching the New South Wales women's origin team for 3 years, I probably sensed that straight away, that I really need to make a real good connection with all the players and with our coaching staff. And we had a really good pathways manager and Jamie Feeney that have been working with the girls there for a long, long time, that there was that connection piece, and I was a new person coming in, so I had to adapt it to them. It would have been terrible if I go, well, this is what I'm bringing in, you have to adapt to me. I'm the one, they're the many, I need to adapt to them. So I really tried to make it, I think it's just something you learn along from good organisations, being at Melbourne Storm, that it's about the connection piece and trying to get a uniformity. So it was always about individual storytelling. So at the start of camps, getting to know each other really well, their why, their purpose for being here, their rugby league path. And once the players started to hear each individual's path, they go, if they didn't have a relationship before, something of their path was very similar to theirs. So they started to resonate with each other really well and get that connecting piece. So definitely with the women, they feel like they need to belong first before they feel they're comfortable to perform. And men, definitely, they need to perform first before they feel like they're part of the belonging. And we probably need to start to change both those mindsets for both spectrums of them, because it is important for the females to perform, to hold their place in there, but it's also important for the men to feel like they belong early and I've gone through that myself. I moved from Melbourne Storm to Newcastle Knights, and although I knew a couple of players there, I didn't know anyone else. I played 2 rep games with Kurt Gidley and Danny Badeiras, and knew no one else at the club. So I was a new guy hired gun come in. So their assimilation into their environment was pretty tough. But my assimilation into the environment from Canberra to Melbourne was excellent because they've gone through that for many, many years. No one's from Melbourne when I was playing. Everyone was from somewhere else. So they knew how to assimilate and bring people in and onboarding them really well and give them connection pieces. And that probably started their legacy from when they started in 98 through to 99. Those places that they just built a new team, and Perth's got the opportunity to do that too, because no one's going to be from Perth when they start their day one over there, so they'll be able to bring everyone in. Where moving from Newcastle, that belonging sense wasn't there for about the first 6 months when you start to sort of come in. So I did feel like I had to belong first before I could perform. So I knew the other spectrum side of it as well, from probably what the women feel in their game.
Who's the best coach that you played under?
I had a couple of really good, funnily enough, my under-16s coach, Anthony Vella, he played a couple of games for Dragons back in the day. You talk about self-belief, and he put a lot of belief in me at a young age, under-16s. And now the longer and longer I go through coaching, it only really takes one coach to make or break a player, and especially at the younger age. And he really made me as a player a belief in myself. Like, he was talking to our whole group of players one day. He goes, I believe there's a couple of players here that can probably make it in the NRL. And didn't name anyone. I was thinking, like, would that be me? And we just stayed good friends for a long time. He goes, you know that I was talking about you, don't you? And there was only one. And he goes, you were the one. And it's not a funny story, but it was a poignant story. My very first winning game for Ipswich Jets as a head coach, 5 minutes before the team come back into the dressing shed, I get a phone call from a mate saying he'd passed away. And then our team goes out and wins the game. And it's like, I just felt like he was sitting on my shoulder.
So technology, data analysis, what sort of equipment do you guys use today with the coaching staff?
Yeah, we use GPS tracking devices, so we can know obviously the metrics the players run, the distance, the velocity, the accels, the decels, the acceleration, the deceleration. All that information is important just for loading and see how much load we're putting on the players, and seeing from their performance analysis, so we can actually be very objective in our analysis of the players. For their work rate as well, where if you're going to have a conversation with a player and say, well, I need you to increase your work rate a little bit, and they say, well, I feel like I'm doing X, Y, Z, you can give them some objectable data and say, well, number 11 is doing this and here's his numbers, and number 12, here's your metrics. I'm comparing apples to apples. Yeah. I need you to get up. So it's a good coaching point of view, perspective for them as well. And just measuring for what you want to matter as well. So not everything that you measure really matters. So getting to the nitty-gritty as well. So do we want to be a really high conditioning team, or the fittest team in the competition? Okay, what do we need to measure to make that matter? Or X-cells and D-cells. So
I've never heard that before, but I really like that saying.
Yeah. So I think I read it through Ivan Cleary's book that, again, if we want to be a really defensive orientated team and put a lot of pressure on the opposition team, so our X-cells and D-cells should be very high, because we've got a lot of change of speed. So we're getting back on the defensive line and we're getting up really fast. So we should see a lot of spikes in the players' X-cells and D-cells a lot. Or if we're just seeing a steady pace, we're probably a team that are fairly passive defensive line. So they're just going to go up, hold and slide, where we want to be a team that really want to be aggressive. Okay, we can sort of measure that as well.
Oh, that's good, because I think in some aspects you get too caught up, and I know that with the elite teams even, you get back in the dressing rooms and you're too focused on all these micro elements, and it's just get back to the basics. So do you think that is something that is happening in today's game, and there's not enough focus or metrics around character?
Yeah, that's the art of coaching. I was actually just talking to Michael Maguire about that not too long ago, and you can be very data and analytical driven, and a lot of the high performance staff are. X, Y, Z's run 10, 20, whatever. We've got to pull him out now, where from a coaching perspective, we're always thinking probably worst case scenario. All right, that might be all well and good that player's done X amount of kilometres, but I can't pull him out of a game if we've got to do 10 sets of 6 on our trial line, which worst case scenario in rugby league might be, and not have him do his job. So there's a bit of a fine line. Use that information to give good information to make your decisions, but don't make your decisions fully off that information. And that's the art of coaching, knowing where the balance is. So going back to sort of that data with the question with accountability as well, so you can keep someone accountable with all that data as well. Like I was talking before, where you can measure players against each other as well, and it's not just a subjective view, mate. I can show you some data for you to back up my decision to play you and not to play this week as well.
That's fantastic. I was watching the Formula One on the weekend, and it's interesting. Just it's so data driven that sport. But then also looking from that mentioned accountability, like each and every one of those drivers are fronting up and in with the media, getting questioned on, you did this, you made that mistake, you went into the wall, or you did. So like you said, there's a lot of accountability. And I guess that in the NRL and at that elite level, you're doing that when you're sitting down doing the video sessions on a Monday morning, and there needs to be a level of accountability. And that data, like you said, a player can actually see, well, hey, my heart rate was X, and like you said, my meters were this, and this many gained, and so it's a good thing to improve performance.
It is, and it's the same thing I say to my children, I say to my players. You are free to choose to do whatever you want to do, but you are not free the consequences of those choices. And the players sort of resonate. Okay, mate, if you choose to throw that pass and it doesn't come off, and that's not the right decision, we need to go back and have a look at your decision processes. Or is it a skill acquisition as well? So if you want to do it, that's great, but you have to also own the consequences. And it's a risk versus reward, just like my children. If they choose to misbehave and do this stuff, you're not free of the consequences, and like we are in life. So it's a good life lessons between the two things. So then as coaches, we need to try to but build better players around their decision making, put them in situations at training, work on their skill acquisition so they can execute under pressure. And then when it comes down to making those decisions, if it's the first time, well, it can be an accident. If they're doing it multiple times, well, then it becomes a choice. Okay, so why are you choosing to do that consistently, and we're not getting the objective out of what we want? So they need to be able to self-reflect and self-review, and then we as coaches help them do that as well.
Yeah. So now you're obviously on the wrong side of 40. I'm on the wrong side of 50. What are some of your daily routines and practices and disciplines that you exercise with today to stay in shape?
Yeah, do something every day.
Yep.
I've got an old dog now. He's an old Labrador. I think he's getting 11, 12 years. So his walk's getting shorter and shorter compared to what they used to be. So that means my walk gets shorter and shorter. So I've got to find extra to do something. So, yeah, I was a trainaholic as a player, and professional athletes, well, you see a lot of players after they retire, they just stop doing anything. I'm just not that mindset. There's a bit of self-respect and being a good example to my kids as well, that I've just got to find doing something every day. So I'll probably go to the gym, train with weights 3 times a week, and take my son along, and do a bit of netball training with my daughter, rugby league training with my son.
How's the body holding up when you run around still? You okay? You're not doing
it's just the Achilles. Everything else is pretty good. It's just the Achilles. When he gets a little bit angry, being 110 kilos and 6'3", road running is not probably my forte, but I do enjoy it, and it's a box I know I can tick there. I'm going to get a lot out of it. So a risk versus a reward. So it's just maintaining the Achilles every now and then. That seems to be the sticking point. But yeah, weight training. I do a little boot camp every week at over in Arana there with a group of friends. So that's something that holds me accountable to them as well. They just become a good group of friends that I run it, but they're accountable on me to turn up. They don't turn up if I don't turn up, so I'm accountable to them to turn up and put on a boot camp every Saturday or Sunday morning. So that's always good fun, but something every day.
Yeah. I think it's awesome that what you mentioned there, like doing the whole boot camp, because I'm obviously big on it. My whole philosophy is around 26 minutes every day as a minimum. But with the boot camp, you're doing that outside, which is awesome. You're doing that with a group of people, which is awesome, and then you're moving. So that's got all 3 boxes ticked, which is awesome. The other thing I talk a lot about, spirit, mind, body. Which of those three do you resonate with, and which do you have to work the hardest on?
Probably, definitely the mind. Again, probably still coming into coaching, that imposter syndrome always, like accumulation of knowledge is great until you actually apply it as well. So I'm trying to be more pragmatic about things. So, but definitely, I'm not a religious person, but I am a spiritual person. I believe we all have a spirit of how you want to carry yourself and how you want to be seen and represented in the community as well. So that's probably how I see our spirit, but definitely mindset around that self-belief and doing things where I'm going to make sure I'm pouring out of a full cup instead of always pouring out of an empty cup, and being in the realm of school teachers, support care workers, nurses, doctors, sports coaches, anyone that's a profession where you're always giving so much of yourself and you're trying to help someone, you can get depleted of what you need for yourself. So it's hard to pour from an empty cup. So you need to replenish your cup quite a bit, and that's doing something physically, something mentally, something spiritually as well. So walking the dog with no phone is something spiritually. You can just be with your own thoughts. Going to the gym for half an hour doing something is something physically. And mindfulness is just reading a book before you go to bed. Those little things that I try to do on a daily basis. Stay off devices as much as I can when you can, but again, they become addictive. But try to fill up my cup as much as possible so I can pour into others.
Very, very true philosophy on keeping that cup full. It's something that I struggle with to do at times as well. If you are involved, and like you pointed out, teachers is a really big one that do suffer from that. And it's, I guess, having an understanding of yourself to know what does fill your own cup up. What's the most important attribute that you're trying to instill in the next generation of athletes?
Work hard will probably never let you down. Work hard will never let you down. I say that to my players a lot. That if you're willing to work hard at something consistently, you're going to give yourself a really good shot to be successful.
Yep.
That's just attributes, and that's come down to self-accountability, discipline as well. But and what does that hard work look like? Like we spoke about before, doing the 5Ks when you say you're going to do the 5Ks, turning up doing that recovery session. Look, when you're doing a study, sometimes you've got to sit your butt in the chair and do the study for as long as it takes. Everyone else wants to get distracted and go away and do different things. That's all well and good, but that work's still going to be there. So if you work hard at something you're passionate about, you're going to give yourself a real good chance to be successful. But you've got to know there's going to be hard work there as well, that it's not like there's guys that love what their job, but they don't love all the aspects of their job. Like an NRL head coach loves their job, but they don't love sitting down watching hours and hours of footage. I don't care which coach you are, no one really loves it, but it's part of the job you have to do. There's like all professions and all jobs. You just got to keep working hard and enjoy the stuff that you really like, and just sort of persevere and do the stuff that you don't really enjoy.
I heard a really good saying around that: hard work beats talent when talent don't work hard.
Yep. Yeah.
Legacy. What sort of legacy are you trying to build within those players, and what do you want to be remembered for?
Oh, just a coach that helped draw the best out of the players. Am I going to make someone great? Probably not. Can I take someone from being average to good and good to very good? Yep. The greatness and all that sort of stuff, that comes from within. But if you can help players just achieve what they want to achieve individually and collectively, like we all want to win premierships, whether it be an A grade or Cup or NRL, that's success. Helping them get their next level of football where they want to get to, that's success for them. But just helping them to enjoy their football more from their competency levels, so they're more competent in their tackling and their passing and their kicking, which breeds them more confidence. So if they're enjoying the game more, they're going to be able to do it better as well. So that's probably just that legacy of giving players self-belief and having a coach that believes in them, and then helping them understand their own self-belief as well. Whether that's a legacy thing or something like that, well, then hopefully you can produce better coaches out of that. If I can produce better coaches, that's a good legacy to have.
Yeah, mate, that's fantastic. And getting kids and young people to realise their potential is a big passion of mine as well. So let's rip into the quick fire questions, mate. You ready?
Yep.
Who's the greatest athlete of all time?
Maybe Phelps. He won a fair few gold medals, didn't he?
He did, mate. What's the word power mean for you?
Big influence over a lot of people, so you make sure you better use it wisely.
Is life easier now or when you were young?
Young. You didn't have a mortgage, you didn't have bills and all that stuff that mum and dad paid for everything. No, young's easy. Young.
What's the worst advice you've ever received?
There's a bit of controversy that you can do anything. Yeah, that's probably not right.
What are you really bad at?
Really bad at. Probably communicating really well with my wife. She'd probably say that. Yeah.
Toughest opponent you played against?
Petro was rock hard. Yeah, Petro.
All-time favourite field that you played on?
I loved the old Melbourne Storm Olympic Park, especially on a cold Saturday night with the fog coming over.
What was going through your mind when you ran out for your first Origin game?
Thankfully, not a lot. Just do my job.
What's your favourite meal?
Ribs, pork ribs.
One skill every young man should master?
Know how to cook.
Coaching men or women, which is easier?
Men.
Who's the smartest person you ever met?
Ooh, I better say my wife.
A book that's changed your thinking?
Yeah, I love Viktor Frankl's Man's Search for Meaning.
Great book. Who's the best player in the world right now?
Cameron Munster.
The worst injury you had and what did it teach you?
Probably ACL. Yeah, and just because I had to rehab that on my own after out of professional footy, that you've got to put the work in no matter what, so I want to get some sort of life after that.
What's 3 words to describe your coaching style?
Honest, accountability, and deliberate.
What's the one thing you find yourself that you keep saying to all your players?
Work hard will never let you down.
And who's going to win the Origin series this year?
New South Wales.
Built to last, what's that phrase mean to you personally?
Yeah, resiliency and discipline and willing to do what's required.
What's the single most important trait every high performer needs?
A good work ethic.
Last question, mate. Finish this sentence, I believe.
If you work hard and you do good things for people, life will treat you well.
Mate, well said, mate. Thanks very much for coming in, mate. I appreciate your time. I know how busy you are and awesome insights and love what you're doing.
Pleasure. Thank you very much. Great to be here.
Thanks for tuning in to the M26 Fit podcast. Remember, real growth happens one step at a time, and consistently working both on your mind and your body for 26 minutes every day will change your life. Hit subscribe to keep the inspiration going, and don't forget to share this episode with somebody who needs that extra boost. Until next time, stay connected, stay active.